though there are some limits to Erikson and Pinier's theories. So Pinier's theories don't pay much attention to the socio-cultural factors that play into development, meaning that I don't think that it takes a lot of time to look at the effects of social pressures like religion and on all the pressures that she was feeling. So according to Pinier's theory, you think she'd be more interested in religion because she was surrounded by it her whole entire life, and said she was moving away. So I really don't think that when it comes to hypothetical thinking, Pinier's theory takes a lot of time to look into those cultural factors that really put a lot of pressure, and how those two can be at odds. A lot of times you'll see people who are under strict rules want to rebel and act out, and it definitely doesn't explain how that happens. It also doesn't really go into how her sexual identity plays a role in as she aged. Pinier doesn't spend a lot of time on sexuality, which I think all of these theories really need to, because I mean, Freud says that everything is based in sexuality, but I really think that a lot of things are based in sexuality, but maybe not everything. So Pinier's doesn't do that either. For Erikson's theory, it really doesn't take into account how sexuality, again, affects her adolescence and in later years. I don't think he takes into account how our sexual identity really plays to how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to others, and how we really relate to, people of the opposite sex, people who we are attracted to. I really don't think this theory spends a lot of time doing that. And Erikson doesn't really take into account the cultural view of what's expected of young people. The fact that we really are expected to give in to what is around us and what is prevalent, it really doesn't go into that. So I would say those are some of the limitations with these theories when it comes to my subject. But they do a good job of explaining how she did get to certain points. So though there are limitations, I would still use them with this subject. Here are just a few of my references when it comes to understanding her behavior and how she got through these crises. Rogers had a lot of information when it came to understanding Pinier's theory, understanding Erikson's theory, and how adolescence is really marked by certain things. So that was super helpful. Also, in my annotated bibliography, one of the articles that I looked at was the commentary on why body image is important, and what it does to play into our development as a person and how we see ourselves, and when it comes to depression and sexuality and all of that. So I think this was a good look into how her early development really changed how she felt about herself. And because she went through her development so early, as she grew up, she really wanted to make sure that her children understood what was going to happen, and just in case it did happen early. So that definitely had a profound effect as she got older. With her daughter, she made sure that her daughter was fully aware it was going to happen, how to deal with it, that there was no shame behind it. And I think that was a really good experience for her to have, so that she can kind of give that to her children. So this was just my presentation. Please feel free to comment if you have any other questions or comments. This was my first real application to a real world subject, and I think it was very interesting to kind of let people like to discuss their stories and like to be heard. So this was a really good opportunity for my subject to be heard and for me to understand how people get to the places that they are and why, and all the factors, whether it's cultural, whether it's cognitive, whether it's psycho, anything like that, how they play into who we are as human beings. So thanks so much, and I can't wait to see all of yours.